talk about something that drives almost every home producer crazy, the Muddy Mix. We're going to uncover a technique today that, seriously, doesn't cost a thing, but it will make your tracks sound way more professional than some expensive new plugin. It's really just a change in how you think, and it might just change the way you mix forever.
You know the feeling, right? You've spent hours, maybe days, getting every single instrument to sound absolutely perfect. But then you hit play on the whole song, and it just feels wrong. Like every sound is in a screaming match, fighting for your attention.
And what's so frustrating is that in solo, everything is a 10 out of 10. The guitars are massive, the vocals are just soaring, the synths are beautiful. I mean, each piece is a work of art. So why, when we put it all together, does it sound like a mess?
Yeah, that's the problem. You put it all together, and all that individual excitement just turns into noise. It cancels itself out, and you're left with a mix that feels cloudy, busy, and let's be honest, kind of tiring to listen to.
So here's the big secret, the whole point of this. The path to a clear, professional mix isn't about adding more stuff. It's about taking things away. Think of it like this. You wouldn't start decorating a room before you clean it, right? The exact same logic applies to your mix.
So let's give this thing a name. Let's call it what it is, the cloudy mix problem. And trust me, once you learn how to solve this, you are taking a giant leap towards getting that professional sound you're after.
Do any of these sound familiar? Busy, cloudy, weirdly tired? These are all just symptoms of the same disease. Your instruments are all fighting for the same space. The issue isn't that your sounds are bad, it's that they have zero room to breathe.
And this quote just nails it perfectly. Our instinct when we hear a problem is to add something. More sparkle, more bass, more reverb. We think we're making it better, but really, we're just painting over a stain on the wall. The pro move? It's to clean the wall first.
Okay, so how do we clean the wall inside our mix? The answer is a super powerful technique called Subtractive EQ. This is the key that's going to unlock all that clarity you've been missing.
So let's break this down. What's the real difference here? Well, additive EQ is all about adding energy. It asks the question, what's missing from this sound? Subtractive EQ, on the other hand, is about removing the junk. It asks a much smarter question. What doesn't belong here?
And here we are again with this idea because it's so important. Think of every muddy frequency, every harsh sound, as a stain on your beautiful mix. Your job, first and foremost, isn't to cover it up with a bright, shiny boost. Your job is to get in there and scrape it off.
All right, time to get our hands dirty. And we're going to start with the star of the show in most songs, the lead vocal. If you get this right, you are halfway to a killer mix. But if you get it wrong, well, all your bad habits are going to be front and center. Here is a super simple 4-step process for a clean vocal. First, slap a high-pass filter on there and get rid of all that low-end rumble that's just taking up space. Second, you got to hunt down that boxy or muddy tone. A great trick is to boost a really narrow EQ band and sweep it around that 200 to 500 hertz range until the vocal sounds awful, and then you make a gentle cut right there. Third, tame any harshness. And finally, only after all of that is done, ask yourself if you still need to boost anything. Clean first, then add the shine.
Now, when it comes to taming that harshness or those sharp S sounds, dynamic EQ is your absolute best friend. See, these problems usually only pop up on certain words. So instead of a permanent EQ cut that can make the whole vocal sound dull, a dynamic EQ only kicks in when that problem frequency gets too loud. It's like having a tiny little robot engineer cleaning things up for you in real time.
Okay, so this exact same logic, it applies to every single instrument in your song. In fact, this is where most of the fighting in a mix really happens.
Check this out. This chart is basically the battlefield of your mix, the mid-range. Just look at how the vocals, guitars, and keys are all trying to live in the same sonic real estate. For example, that body of your vocal, it's in the same exact spot as the thickness of your guitars. If both are taking up all that space, you get mud. The art here is deciding which instrument gets to own that frequency, and then making a smart, surgical cut in the other one to make room.
Okay, so we've done a ton of work. We've carved out space between our instruments. It's starting to sound clear. But there's another element that we all love to add that can instantly fill all that beautiful space right back up with mud if we're not super careful.
Reverb. Yep, we slap it on things to make them sound huge and epic, but we almost always forget a critical step. You have to mix your reverb. You have to treat it just like any other instrument in your song. If you don't, all that clarity you just worked so hard for will get washed away in a big, cloudy haze.
So here's how you clean it up. Use a high-pass filter on your reverb return to stop any low-end junk from turning into a muddy mess. Then, use a low-pass filter to get rid of any harsh, hissy frequencies. And this is a big one. Use pre-delay. This creates a tiny gap between your dry sound and the reverb itself, which lets the original sound punch through clearly before all that awesome ambience kicks in.
At the end of the day, this isn't just about tweaking a few frequencies with an EQ. It's about a fundamental shift in how you think about mixing from the moment you start.
So instead of asking that old question, what can I add to make this impressive? I want you to start asking a new one. What is masking the part I actually care about? See the difference? The first question leads you down a rabbit hole of more and more stuff, which equals clutter. The second question leads you directly to clarity.
Because that's what a mix really is. You're not just adjusting a list of individual tracks one by one. You're a negotiator. You're finding the perfect compromise so that every instrument has its own space to shine without stepping all over the others. So, look, if you only remember one single thing from all of this today, please make it this.
This should be your new mixing mantra. Tattoo it on your brain. Cut first. Before you even think about reaching for that knob to boost something, cut out the mud, cut out the harshness, cut out the junk. Then, listen again. I promise you, you will be shocked at how often you don't even need that boost you were about to reach for.
And this brings us to the final and maybe the most important idea of all. A great mix isn't something you build, it's something you reveal. The clarity, the punch, the separation, it's all already there in your track. It's just hiding under layers of mud and clutter. Your job isn't to be a painter, it's to be a sculptor, to chip away everything that doesn't belong and let the masterpiece underneath emerge. Now go find it.